Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Sarah Roberts, and I'm the Associate Professor of Saxophone and Jazz Studies, as well as the Director of the School of Performing Arts at the University of Texas at Tyler. It's my hope that this video will help you as you prepare for the 2026 TMEA All-State Jazz Auditions. This year, the Saxophone Etudes focus on three distinct styles: a swing, ballad, and a bossa nova. Each one of these etudes gives you a chance to show off your understanding of those distinct styles while also demonstrating your own musicianship. Etude 1 is a swing etude, and it's written at the tempo of a quarter note equals 200. The etude was composed by a saxophonist from DFW, whose name is Mark Lara, and it is based on a jazz standard entitled Joy Spring, which was written by a jazz trumpeter named Clifford Brown. If you haven't already done so, I highly encourage you to go check out the recording. Before we dig into the etude, I want to remind you to make sure to constantly check the TMEA website for any errata that might come up. We might need to make some adjustments. Etude number 1 does have some errata. One of the most essential elements to this etude is demonstrating an understanding and a proficiency in swing style. So if you don't know, swing eighth notes are a fundamental part of playing jazz repertoire. And they are a little bit different than how we play eighth notes in classical music. In jazz, we are going to have a sort of long short feel, unlike in classical music when two eighth notes equally split a quarter note. Technically, it's often interpreted in jazz as the first eighth note taking about 2/3 of the beat and the second eighth note taking 1/3 of the beat, similar to a triplet feel where the first and the third notes are playing. There's an underlying triplet feel in swing rhythms. I like to say doo-dun-da, doo-dun-da. So we can practice saying triplets in swing time. Doo-dun-da, 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 doo-dun-da. Now, if I want to translate that into the eighth notes, I'm just going to say do and da. Do da 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 do. As we start to speed up, and in particular, as we start to play at the speed of 200 beats per minute, the eighth notes become more straight. And what makes this swing feel is actually the articulation, not the fact that one eighth note is getting 2/3 of the beat and the other eighth note is getting 1/3 of the beat. So, not only do we want to feel the swing style, but we want to make sure that we are practicing good articulations. So there are some rules that we can follow that are going to help us learn swing articulation. First, swing articulation is a mixture of long and short, just like we talked about. 2/3 of the beat versus 1/3 of the beat. A second rule, unless otherwise marked, quarter notes are usually going to be short. Rule number 3, the ends of phrases typically end with a do-dot. Rule number 4, 2 eighth notes followed by a rest are articulated do-dot. So if you have 2 eighth notes and a rest, we'll say do-dot. Long strings of eighth notes are legato and utilize swing articulation, like the articulation we just talked about, do da do da do da do. So in this etude 1, if you take a look at your music, you have long streams of eighth notes. We're going to use swing articulation on those, but they're going to be very legato until you get to the end of the phrase, and the end of the phrase is going to end do-dot. Rule number 6, when an eighth note line skips either up or down, the note skipped to is typically accented, and this comes from the bebop tradition. To help us understand swing articulation, we need to know some syllables. So on your screen, you can see some various syllables that are associated with markings of articulations. For example, if we see a marcato, or in jazz, a housetop, that's going to be a dot. So we articulate the front of the note and the back of the note. Dot. A long quarter note, or a tenuto quarter note, is going to be a do. A long half note, da. We're going to play through that half note, make sure that it gets its full value. And in staccato, if we're going to use a staccato, we might say the syllable dit. For eighth notes, like we just talked about, do dot, 2 eighth notes, especially followed by a rest. Do dot, where the second eighth note is more articulate. Strings of eighth notes might be something like do, da, do, or do, va, do, va, do, va, do. And like we said, triplets, do, dot, if it's followed by a rest, or do-la if it's continued. Do-la, 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 if we had a string of triplets, for example. So we're going to need to practice this, and we have to figure out how to articulate in a swing style, especially long strings of eighth notes. So all of the syllables that we just talked about, you'll want to practice on your instrument. Swing articulation means that we're going to articulate the second eighth note and slur to the downbeat. For example, if I was going to play my concert E flat on alto saxophone, or my C scale starting on low C, I would articulate the low C, then articulate D and slur to E, and then start the every other pattern. So to vocalize that, I might say do, da, oo, da, oo, da, oo, da, oo. Say that with me. Ready? Go. Do, da, oo, da, oo, da, oo, da, oo. And I would keep it very legato, okay? So I would practice this with my metronome. Typically when I'm practicing swing articulation, I'll put the metronome on 2 and 4. So instead of it being on all 4 beats, I'll put it on beats 2 and 4. That mimics the hi-hat. So right now, I'm putting the metronome on 45, and that's going to be beats 2 and 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So I like to practice this articulation with all my major scales. I don't really have to use the entire range of the horn, but I can practice just an octave and practice that legato, but every other eighth note articulation. Here we go. So I'm going to go around the circle of fifths. We practiced it with our metronome. Now we want to work this speed up. And as we work this speed up, we can continue to keep the met on 2 and 4. And as we get faster, we're going to shorten the actual swing. So it becomes more straight eighth note, but the articulation is what makes the swing style. So now I'm going to bump my metronome up. Let's make it at 70. Same exercise. I'm going to start on C, and this time I'm going to go to the circle of fourths. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. All right, imagine I went all the way through the circle. Now I'm going to bump my metronome up to 100. So 100, where it's on 2 and 4, is the tempo of our etude. Here we go. So I'll start on C, and I'm going to go around the circle of fifths. 1, 2, So if I took the articulation out, it might sound something like this. practice slow, and then start to incorporate maybe some of the rhythms that you might have. So what if we change that last note, instead of it being a whole note, what if we added a do dot? So you can incorporate different rhythms that you might have from your etudes in your scales to help practice those articulations. If I pull up the music now, you can see my markings that I've added. One of the things that's missing in the etude is articulations. Another thing that's missing is dynamics as well, but we'll talk about that in a second. So you can see that I have smaller slurs in purple, and those slurs are where I'm actually articulating. And then my blue slurs show the phrases. So you can see I'm trying to think a long phrase, and then I've added my dots at the end of the phrase. So that first phrase, the first three measures might sound something like this if I was going to scat it. Do, va, 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 dot, right? So just practicing scatting and getting that motion is great. Then you can maybe even try and sing it if you're a singer. If you're not, it's okay. Just say the syllables to help you think that as you're playing. So now I'm going to put on my metronome, back to 70. And just like I practiced my scale, I'm going to practice those first three bars. I'm thinking do, va, do, and then dot at the end of the phrase. 1, 2, Let's talk about some other aspects of this etude. For the majority of the etude, my fingering choices include bis B flat. However, there are some places where you can utilize side B flat. And for those of you that might not know, bis B flat, here's my B key, this little key. Next to it is bis. So I'm going to take my first finger and put it in between those two keys so that I can utilize bis. Bis is a French word that means alternate. So you can leave your finger on those two keys. My rule is I don't like to slide off and on because I can't do that fast enough. So in my music, if I have something that goes B flat to B natural or A sharp to B natural, I'm going to use side, which is 1, 2, and your bottom side key right here. Okay? So that's side B flat. And then there are also some places where you can use chromatic F sharp. So chromatic F sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to take your fourth finger and use this F sharp key, the chromatic key. Okay? I like to use that when I can, and the line is going F, F sharp G, or G, G flat F, something that mimics chromatic. So here on your screen, you can see these are the places where I might choose to use these alternate fingerings. But again, my default is bis B flat. This etude is a great chance to show off clarity, control, and your confidence. Make sure that you spend a lot of time practicing slowly and gradually bring the tempo up. Remember that when we practice slowly, we're practicing good muscle memory, and that muscle memory is what we rely on when we're playing fast. If we go too fast too soon, we haven't built the muscle memory and we make little mistakes. Maybe we'll have a blip here or we'll miss a note here, and that's what we don't want. You want to play as many repetitions as you can with clean and in control technique so that when you go fast, you're relying on that really good foundation. In addition, like we talked about, make sure that you practice with your metronome and aim to practice with a beat on 2 and 4. This mimics the hi-hat of the drum set. It'll help you fit in the time better and help you sit in your swing. Remember that swing talks about the eighth notes, but it talks about a style, and it talks about a way that different musicians play their instruments. So in swing, if you watch a drummer, what makes the swing happen is the hi-hat closing on 2 and 4 and the ride cymbal, okay? I learned this from a drummer. Sometimes when I'm getting ready to play swing, or I want my students to think of swing eighth notes, I'll tell them to think of the ride. Spang, spang-a-lang, spang-a-lang, spang-a-lang. I'll tell them to say that, Okay, say that with me. Spang, spangaling, 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 spangaling. You can think that before you get ready to play, and that'll help set you up for a successful feel. Remember, we want to demonstrate that you have a clear understanding of swing feel and swing time. So all of these ways of practicing and saying and counting, using your metronome in different ways, those are ways to help you really intrinsically understand swing style. Lastly, I'll say I enjoy using iReal Pro. That's an app, and I'm not endorsed by iReal Pro, nor is this an advertisement. And you can find a lot of different drum tracks online on YouTube. But I like to go on iReal Pro, and I'll pull up Joy Spring, for example, and I'll take out the piano and the bass and just have the drums play. And I'll practice my etude with that. 1, 2, Right? That helps me kind of feel the time and feel what a drummer might be doing behind me. So I encourage you to explore all these different ways of practicing to make sure that you are really demonstrating a good understanding of swing style. Most of the time I hear students play swing very choppy and too separated. So for example, something like this. That is not swing. So make sure that you're thinking smooth, connected. I'll also hear people flip the articulation. So they'll articulate the downbeat and slur to the end. Right? And that just flips it around. So make sure that you don't flip the articulation. If you think da, do, ah at the beginning, that'll help you get set. Every time you're starting a stream of eighth notes, da, do, ah, da, do, ah. Da, do, ah, do, ah, do, ah, do, ah. Da, do, ah, do, ah, do, ah, do, ah. That'll help you get on the right track. Some other things that you might consider and make sure to look out for. In measure 10, those are all upbeats, starting from the and of 4 of measure 9 all the way through measure 10. That's a common place where we're going to rush the time. So make sure that you practice that carefully. You might even practice bopping the rhythm to make sure you're not moving too soon. Also, like we talked about, there are no dynamics written. So find a place where you might want to play soft or you might want to play loud and follow the shape of the line. So as the line goes up, you're going to crescendo, and as the line comes down, you're going to decrescendo. Watch out in measure 8, D, F natural to C. A lot of times that F to C connection, our fourth finger will be too draggy and we might add a note in there. So just be really careful. F to C, we're not adding any notes in there. Make sure that might be an interval that you isolate and make sure your fingers are moving together. So hopefully these tips helped you on this first etude. Now take a listen.